guys, today we've got a real special video for you. We're testing out some of the world's best AeroPress techniques taken straight from the World Aeropress Championships, that have been happening over the past years. The AeroPress takes a finer ground than a French press and uses air pressure to extract flavour similar to the espresso. And the World Aeropress Championships, well, they're a fan-driven global phenomenon, and challengers come from over 60 countries to have a great time competing to make the best cup of coffee using their favourite AeroPress. After each year's contest, they post the top 3 recipes online for people to try themselves. So we had a look and let's get started. Just so you guys know, the manufacturer's method is pretty simple, and I'll be making one as a kind of control. Basically, you add a filter and a cap, add 1 cup of fine grounds into the chamber, add 80 degrees water up to level 1 and stir for 10 seconds. Gently press the plunger in and pause when you feel resistance. You can top it up if you want a longer drink. So all of these techniques actually use the inverted AeroPress method, which is going to become very apparent very quickly, don't worry. So this is the equipment that we're working with today. We've got our coffee beans. We're going to be using the same one across every entry. A ceramic coffee grinder with some fine grounds in there and some more coarse ones here, which I did about 5 minutes ago. We've got our scales, measuring jug, thermometer, waters board back there. We've got filter papers, and obviously it wouldn't be much of an AeroPress experiment without the AeroPress. So let's get started. Okay, so first up, the 2019 winner, Wendelin van Bunik from the Netherlands. Let's take a look at her technique. Pour 100 grams of water on the coffee in 10 seconds. Stir firmly 20 times for 10 seconds. Put the filter cap with rinsed filter on the brewer and gently press out excess air. At 40 seconds, flip the AeroPress, press out all the coffee. You should end up with roughly 60 grams of extracted coffee. Add 100 grams of water to the extracted coffee. Taste and add more water until the desired strength. Cool the brew down to roughly 60 degrees by stirring and decanting. Slurp and enjoy. So she uses 30 grams of coffee at a 7 out of 10 grind and 100 grams of water at 92 degrees C. So let's get started and see what the fuss is about. So as I said, all the methods here use the inverted AeroPress technique. The manufacturer's spec on the packaging and on their website doesn't use this, as you saw in my demonstration. You place the filter, coffee, water and push it through. The inverted technique, you place the plunger on before you start anything, flip the whole thing upside down, and then basically brew your coffee in here, placing the filter on, invert it and plunge it. Just gives you a bit more freedom to play around with brew time and things like that before the coffee starts flowing through. Okay, so as I said, it's a relatively coarse grind, this one. We're going to measure out the 30 grams of coffee. So we've got our inverted AeroPress here. We're going to put the funnel on top and add our coffee. Okay, we've measured up our water at 92 degrees C and we're just going to slowly pour it over the coffee within. She then wants us to stir it firmly 20 times for 10 seconds. We've got a rinsed out filter cap here, just a bit of room temperature water or boiling water, just run through it, wets it down, sticks, stop any gaps. Wants us to place that on top and then push out any excess air. And now we wait 40 seconds. Okay, and now it's ready to flip. Push out the extracted coffee and top up with 100 grams of water. And there you go, 2019's World Aeropress Championship winning cup of coffee. Let's see what it's like. Okay, so this is the cup that we made using the normal AeroPress technique. As I said, we're going to use the same coffee throughout to make it a fair test. So this coffee in itself, just through the AeroPress, nice level of richness. A little bit of smoke, black pepper. I'm getting some raisin, maybe some prune and dates. But it's so smooth, not too bitter. Yeah, just a really pleasant dark roast with some nice fruit carrying it through. So Wendelin wanted us to enjoy this cup at 60 degrees C, and a quick way of cooling coffee down. For the purposes of this test, I'm going to decant it into another mug. So let's give the 2019 AeroPress Championship brew a try. So much more mellow, so much more balanced. The smoke and black pepper that I was getting before, that kind of hit you and then faded away to that fruit, it's just balancing with that fruit a little bit more. It makes it much more well-rounded. No bitterness, nice roast, lovely aftertaste. It just feels like a leveled up version of that basic AeroPress brew. But is it any different to the other techniques that have won throughout the years? So let's try the 2018 winner. So let's take a look at the 2018 winner, Caroline Ibarra-Garay from the USA's technique for her AeroPress winning coffee. So Carolina wanted us to set up the water temperature at 85 degrees C, prepare the filter paper, grind your coffee. Pour 100 grams of water for 30 seconds, stir vigorously but carefully with a wooden pair of chopsticks for 30 seconds, put the filter cap on, flip the AeroPress and press into a glass server for 30 seconds. Don't preheat the serving vessel, top up with 60 grams of 85 degrees Celsius water and 40 grams of room temperature water. She uses 34.9 grams of coffee and an 8 out of 10 grind. So first up, pouring 100 grams of 85 degree water. Okay, we've applied our rinsed out filter to the top of the AeroPress and now we're going to weigh out 34.9 grams of coffee. Okay, we've weighed out 34.9 grams of coffee and we've rinsed our filter paper. So let's add the plunger to the AeroPress, add the coffee. Okay, we've measured 79 degrees of water. I'm going to add it quickly before it gets any lower than that. And I'm going to pour it over this coffee for 30 seconds. And now, stir vigorously with 2 wooden chopsticks for another 30 seconds. Add the filter cap and press into the server. And here we've got a mixture of 60 grams of 85 degrees C water and 40 grams of room temperature water. We're going to add our coffee to it. And there you have it. The 2018 winning AeroPress World Championship brew. This one just feels a little bit more mellow. You see it's got a lot more water in than the previous entry. It has got slightly more coffee, but probably not enough to make a difference. And probably because, you know, you've used that 85 degree water, you've topped up with a little bit of room temperature water as well to make it, you know, instantly drinkable. You haven't also preheated your serving vessel. It's an easy drinking brew, but I don't know if it's too much effort for something like that. I'm just not getting as many of the exciting kind of rich, dark fruits, smoky roasted pepper that I was in the previous ones. So onward, let's try the 2017 winning entry. We are making a royal mess of this kitchen surface. Okay, let's see what the 2017 winner Pauline from the UK did. So we put 35 grams of coffee into an AeroPress from 0 to 15 seconds, add 150 grams of water from 15 to 35 seconds, stir and keep on stirring. At 35 seconds, put the filter cap, which is pre-wet, in place. At 1 minute 5, flip the AeroPress and start pressing. At 1:35, stop pressing. So you should now have 90 ml of concentrated brew, which you should top up with 160 to 200 grams of hot water and enjoy. She uses 35 grams of coffee and an 8 out of 10 grind. So let's get started. Start that stopwatch. Okay, so we've got our 35 grams of coffee going in the AeroPress, and we're adding 150 grams of water for the next 20 seconds. Now we stir it, place the filter cap and wait 30 seconds. Okay, now flip the AeroPress and start pressing. We should be pressing for around 30 seconds. And now add 160 to 200 grams of hot water. And we're done. Let's see what it's like. Quite a bit of sweetness off the aroma. Wow, that's bitter. That method has brought a lot of the bitterness out of those grounds. Rich and roasted, but really quite a tart sensation. The only flavour from previously that I'm getting perhaps is the smokiness. I'm not really getting any of that rich dark fruit or any of that black pepper. I mean, the one word review from me is bitterness. Okay, let's try the 2016 winning coffee. Even more cleaning. Okay, our 2016 winner Filip Kojarczyk from Poland used this technique. Rinse filter and start the timer. Pour 150 grams of water for 15 seconds. Stir until 30 seconds are on the timer. Put the lid on, wait until 1 minute on the timer. Invert the AeroPress, give it a swirl and plunge. Add 100 to 120 grams of water to taste. He used 35 grams of a coarse ground with 81 degrees C water. Let's get started. Okay, so first up we're going to rinse out this filter. We're going to weigh out our 35 grams of a coarse ground coffee. And now over the next 15 seconds we're going to pour on 150 grams of 81 degrees C water. We give it a stir for 15 seconds, put the lid on and wait until there's 1 minute on the timer. So that's another 30 seconds. Okay, invert it, give it a swirl, and plunge. Invert it, give it a swirl, and plunge. Then add 100 to 120 grams of water to taste. I've got to confess that that was almost the exact method that I personally use at home with my own AeroPress. Inverted, fill it up the majority of the way with around 100 grams of water, give it a swirl, invert it and plunge, and then top up to taste. So it's a winning formula for me, but let's see how it compares to the others. Oh, so mellow. Similar to number 2, everything's quite subdued, not much bitterness, nice bit of smoke, bit of black pepper as I said, a little bit of fruit sweetness, just cutting through that bitterness, making it a little bit more pleasant, but yeah, really mellowed. That is a fine treatment of those excellent coffee beans. Okay, and finally on our AeroPress journey, we've got the 2015 winner from Slovakia, Lukas Zaradnik. Let's see what he did. Okay, so grind coffee at 7.3 on a Malkoenig EK43. And we've looked this up and it's the same as kind of a drip grind. Heat water to 79 degrees C and add 60 grams of water. A turbulent wiggle for 15 seconds. Allow 13 seconds of bloom. Add the rest of the water over 10 seconds and press down for 45 seconds. They use 20 grams of coffee and 230 grams of water at 79 degrees C. So let's get started. Okay, so let's weigh out the coffee. Okay, so we've measured out our coffee and we've got our 60 grams of water. Now, in the method for this one on the AeroPress World Championship websites, it didn't actually say that the filters were pre-wetted, so we're going to treat it like that and treat it dry. It did, however, as you expect, say that it was the inverted method. Let's add our weighed out coffee and our 60 grams of water. Now, I couldn't find in the dictionary a method for doing a turbulent wiggle, so I'm just going to kind of make it up. I reckon it's something along the lines of this. Pretty turbulent. And we're doing this for 15 seconds. Wow, that aroma coming off there is insane. We're going to now just allow 30 seconds of bloom. And now we add the rest of the water, place on our filters, invert and press. And we're going to be pressing down for 45 seconds. So I'm really just going to rest both hands on here and let gravity do the work. The 2015 winner. Let's see if the turbulent wiggle made any difference. Again, a really bitter one. Bitter and tart, really smoky, very peppery. Wow, it's like drinking lava. Don't drink lava, kids. That is insane. That's easily the most potent and bitter of the 5 we've tried. In comparison to the previous years, super mellow. That's like a nuclear bomb. So there we go. 5 years worth of World Championship winning AeroPress entries. Which one was the best? For me personally, it was 2019's. I thought it balanced those lovely, dark, rich fruits with that nice pepper smokiness, with a perfect level of bitterness for me. I'm awfully biased to the 2016 one because that's my method. Maybe a little bit too mellow, similar to the 2018 entry. I advise all of you with an AeroPress to get on the World Championship website and give it a try for yourself. It was great fun. I've had a substantial amount of coffee, so I'm going to go bounce off the walls. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all again soon.